Hello Planet Internet, I am Emperor Cole and this is Emperor Cole Film Review brought to you by MindBenderENT.com. And today I'm here to review Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania. So now this will be a spoiler review, so if you haven't seen the film yet, make sure you go check it out, then come back and watch this review. For everybody else, let's get ready to take this trip into the quantum realm to stop Kang the Conqueror. Right off the bat, I want to say overall, I thought this movie was a little bit better than okay, just a little, marginally better than okay, but I had some issues with this film in regards to the story and what they decided to do. First off, I felt like Ant-Man was overmatched right from the jump because Ant-Man is Ant-Man and he was up against Kang the Conqueror. So now Kang, if you know anything about the comic books or the cartoons or what have you, Kang is a very powered supervillain that can travel through time and has all this super crazy advanced technology from the 31st century. And all that stuff is far too advanced and far too powerful for Ant-Man to be able to stop. So right off the top, I felt like Ant-Man was miscast in this movie, in this adventure, to be going up against Kang. Like I said, Kang is an Avengers level type threat where it's going to take all the Avengers to have to come together to be able to defeat him. The Council of Kangs were afraid of this version of Kang because he was so powerful that they decided to sabotage his space glider thing. I forgot what the official name of it is, but his thing that he uses to travel back and forth in time and other multiverses. They sabotaged it and they sent him to the quantum realm. So it's like, if he's supposed to be so powerful, if he's the version of them, of Kang, that they're all so afraid of, and obviously they didn't want to come together and try to fight him, take him on one-on-one, or even try to take him on as a group, because I guess they felt like they would lose. So they decided to sabotage his ship, send him to the quantum realm, right? Because he's just too powerful. So if that's the case, and if that's the situation with him, if he's the most strongest, most powerful version of Kang, how in the world does he lose to Ant-Man and a bunch of ants at the end of the film? Like, he's having this mano-a-mano fight with Ant-Man and they're duking it out, and the fight is solid, but given the fact that Kang loses, I mean, obviously, like I said, it's a spoiler review, you know that. Kang loses and he gets sucked into the Chronopolis, the Chrono, whatever the thing is. And at the end of the film, when they show the Council of Kangs, they confirm that he is dead. They didn't say he was missing. They said that they were like, now that he's dead, we can go on with the rest of our plans, right? So the fact that this is supposed to be the strongest version of Kang that they're all afraid of, and Ant-Man beats him, in a fist fight, no less. That just goes to show that, and granted, Wasp did come back out. She came through the portal. She helped him and blasted him or whatever. But he was beaten that easily. And this is the guy that's supposed to be the big threat now here in Marvel Phase 5. I'm concerned. And just like I said before, for the people who pay attention to it, I put the hashtag up that Thanos would beat the brakes off of Kang. Because none of the Avengers could beat Thanos one-on-one in a head-up fight. And Kang the Conqueror, supposed to be the strongest version of Kang, just got his ass whooped by Ant-Man and the Wasp. He lost. So, yeah, Thanos would beat the brakes off of Kang. But that's something that I didn't like, and that's something that I felt like they took a huge misstep with that one. There was speculation with people wondering if Ant-Man was going to die in this film, or if maybe Hank Pym was going to die, or possibly the Wasp was going to die. Nobody died. And Kang is supposed to be so tough and so strong. Granted, there's all these different versions of him, cool, but given the fact that there's just going to be another version of Kang who's going to keep popping up, or might even be the villain in another movie, that kind of takes the stakes away from this Kang dying. That kind of just seems like there's nothing really at stake. So that's one thing I didn't like, and I think that's something that took away from the film. Another thing I didn't like about this movie was the typical trope of someone withholding information that is key and vital to what's going on. What I mean by that was Janet Van Dyne, the character played by Michelle Pfeiffer. The fact that she had all this information about Kang and this experience of being down here with him, and the fact that they were trying to get out of the quantum realm together, and then at the last minute when she figured out that things with him weren't quite what she thought they were, I hated that she had this information and hadn't told everybody. Like, several times they kept asking her, what's wrong? What's going on down here? What are you holding from us? And she would just say, oh, no, nothing. Like, you know, or she just didn't want to talk about it. She kept avoiding telling them this critical information about this guy Kang who's down here. I did enjoy the flashback scenes that they showed with her and Kang when they were trying to figure out how to fix the power source of his ship, and like just showing those flashbacks of how they became friends, or at least they became pretty cool with each other, both on this mission of trying to get out of the quantum realm. That was cool. I like that backstory part. That was enjoyable. But one thing I found to be kind of strange was right when the ship is fixed and they're just about ready to go, they spent what looked like years trying to fix it, right? And then when she goes and touches his ship and she gets to see, she sees inside of his mind. She sees him conquering all of these different planets and places and different dimensions and all the people he's killing. And it's like she looks at him and she takes her hands off of it. He looks up at her because he realizes that she just saw something. And she says to him, "Who's Kang?" So if she's asking him, "Who's Kang?" they spent years on top of years on and all this, you know, obviously the quantum realm is outside of time, whatever. But they spent a significant amount of time trying to get this machine working again. And she just asked him, "Who's Kang?" So what has she been calling him? What name has she been calling him this whole particular time? Kind of makes you wonder, right? I felt like that was a slip, or that was something that the producers or the writer just did not really think about. But I caught that, you know. I like that they made Janet Van Dyne a freedom fighter who was fighting against Kang in the quantum realm, and of course she was trying to help the people. And of course they've got this big freedom fighter / rebellion that's going on against them. I thought that was pretty cool. Given that this movie is called Ant-Man and the Wasp: The Quantum Realm, ironically, I think they may have actually been referring to her character as the Wasp and not Evangeline Lilly's Wasp. Why? Because she had a much bigger role in this film than Evangeline Lilly. Another thing I didn't particularly care for in this film was the way the CGI was handled. I feel like the CGI in this movie was very green screenish, where you could actually tell it was CGI and a green screen that they were working on. From what I read online, they filmed a lot of this movie in the Volume, which is this new soundstage that's like a complete huge green screen thing that Disney has. They use that obviously so that they don't have to go out on physical locations. Of course, it's a little cheaper for them, but it was very obvious that they weren't in a physical, that they were in a CG environment basically. And the quantum realm, it was kind of strange and a little off-putting that they didn't put more in it to make it a little bit more spectacular. What I mean by that is the sky was usually just this crazy maroonish red color, and it looked very generic somewhat. Like they didn't go that extra mile to try to make it more unique since it's the quantum realm. And given what I heard or what I read online, I heard that this movie and Black Panther Wakanda Forever were going through basically post-production at the same time. And they put most of the resources as far as the CGI effects and people, they put most of them on Wakanda Forever, and they kind of let Ant-Man Ant-Man was basically the redheaded stepchild. So I'm guessing, and obviously it's showing, the proof is in the pudding, it's in the movie. That's why the CGI effects turned out the way they did. And I was a little disappointed because Marvel movies usually have top-notch visual effects, and I could definitely tell the difference. Another part of the film that I thought was kind of okay, but should have been better, was how they handled MODOK. Granted, the character MODOK is like a head with arms and legs, and he's all bent on trying to kill people. He's this I forgot the exact acronym for MODOK, but it's machine organism designed for killing or something like that. I mean, the way they made it like a joke and made it comedy, okay, that was cool. Oh, a little, I mean, I didn't mind some of the humor regarding him, but the fact that they went really silly with him, I didn't like that. And then given the fact that he has this turn all of a sudden where he decides to be a good guy later on because Scott's daughter says to him, "Oh, don't be a dick." And then after that, he just has this change of heart, and he goes from being completely committed and loyal to Kang and wanting to kill people for Kang to further Kang's cause. So all of a sudden, all it takes is this teenage girl telling him, "Oh, don't be a dick." And then he just decides that he's going to help them, and he turns on them. Like, that wasn't earned, and that was really bad writing. That's like, it's like something that you would expect from an 80s superhero film, maybe even an early 90s superhero film. We're at a point now where the superhero genre has been taken much more seriously. These movies have been done with much more care and much more, like, there's been much more vetting of actually putting together great stories and great characters. So I'm surprised that Marvel allowed that to be done. So I feel like what they did with MODOK should have been done more in a more serious tone, and maybe they could have sprinkled in a joke or two there. But I didn't particularly like that. Like, it was okay. They added some humor with him, but just the way they handled him overall, I felt like was kind of goofy. And this tone of making the Marvel superhero films with all this extra humor and making them kind of goofy and silly, I don't like that at all. Like, for example, Thor: Love and Thunder. That movie was terrible. I didn't like that movie. That was a bad film. And what made it so bad? It was very goofy and silly with the humor. One thing that I did enjoy was Ant-Man in that one particular scene where it's all the different probabilities and all these different other Ant-Men start to show up. And of course, they're all independent of each other. And these are all probabilities based off things that he could do or he could experience or what have you. And before too long, it's like a whole room. It's almost like infinity. It's just more and more and more of them keep showing up. So I thought it was cool the way they all finally decided to work together because he wanted to try to get to his daughter. So they all lift each other up. They keep lifting him up, lifting him up, lifting him up so he can get to the top of this thing so he can get inside the machine. I can't remember the exact name of it right at this particular time. So I thought that part was cool. Also, I liked the way they made him have this bond or connection with his daughter where she wanted him to do more. And she was saying to him, like, you know, you're just enjoying the perks of writing your book and being famous, but it's like, are you really helping people? So I like that they kind of had the whole thing where he decided he wanted to do more because of her, or like she inspired him to want to do more. And I thought it was kind of cool the way they had it where she got locked up a couple times, and even though she wasn't getting the help from him particularly, it was actually Hank Pym who was helping her, who helped her get her own suit. I didn't mind that he helped her. I liked the fact that they were developing that bond, and like that was nice for the whole character development piece of it. But now, like, she had her own suit so that she could shrink down and have powers. That was a little cheesy, but overall, like I said, there were some things I did enjoy about this actual film. I expected Kang, the character, to be a little bit more vicious and a little bit stronger and tougher, the way that he was supposed to be written. But the way Jonathan Majors performed the role, I thought he did very well with what he was given. His acting was on point, and Kang will be a formidable opponent in this Phase 5. But like I said, I expected him to be pretty much invincible in the sense that nobody would be able to beat him one-on-one. And it seems like they're making him just this person that's just going to keep reoccurring because there's all these different variants of him. So that's, like I said before, that kind of takes away from the stakes. So even though this version of Kang dies, there's just another version and another version and another version and another version. There's like a whole stadium full of thousands upon thousands of Kangs. So there's going to be all these different versions of him. That's cool. But that means what's really at stake if there's just going to be another Kang, you know? And that's something I'm hoping that they kind of do a little bit of a course correction with that. But Jonathan Majors as Kang, his performance was good. I think he'll do fine in the role. I just feel like the role needs to be written a little bit better, and some of the storylines need to be a little more intriguing and enhanced. Like, I feel like this movie would have been better if they would have just called it Kang Quantumania and actually showed his origin story, showed how he had the disagreement with the Council of Kangs, show how he had this plan to kill everyone and wipe everyone out, and then show how they crossed him, double-crossed him, and banished him to the quantum realm. That could have been the whole film, actually. Like, that could have been the movie, and I think that would have served as a better story, as opposed to putting Ant-Man up against this character that there's no way Ant-Man is supposed to be able to beat, you know? But obviously, that's neither here nor there. There's been so much backlash with this film, with so many people who didn't love it, because so much of us wanted to love it, that Marvel may actually have to replace Jeff Loveness, who wrote this film, because he's supposed to be writing, I believe, the Secret Wars, the Avengers Secret Wars movie. And yeah, that's a little, I don't know if is it Avengers Secret Wars or it's the Kang Dynasty. One of those two films. He's the person that's already been contracted to write the movie. Now, since people don't like this one, they may have to take him off of that film just in case. Or they might have to bring on another writer to help him write it, just to make sure his ideas are on point and it really matches what we expect out of Marvel at this point. Okay, so now it's time for me to give Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania a score on the MindBender movie meter. So now, I voiced my concerns about the things I didn't particularly like about this movie. Overall, I did enjoy it. I'm not going to act like I hated it. I didn't hate it, but I expected so much more from this film, especially since this is the kickoff to Phase 5. And from what I heard from Kevin Feige, this was supposed to be the movie that was supposed to make so much more stuff about Phase 5 more clear. It does a little, but this is the movie that's bringing us into Phase 5. This is supposed to get us excited about these new slate of films they got coming up. And it didn't quite hit the mark where we expected it to be. It wasn't as great as I wanted it to be, and that's a little bit of a concern for me. But back to Quantumania's score on the MindBender movie meter. I'm going to have to give this movie a 63% Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania. 63% on the MindBender movie meter. I usually go see Marvel films 2, 3, 4, and 5 times in the movie theaters because I'm so enamored and enjoy them that much. So far, I've only seen this movie one time in the theater, and I'll probably wait until it shows up on Disney Plus in May or June before watching it again. Okay, so this has been Emperor Cole Film Review for Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania. If you enjoyed this review, definitely subscribe to this YouTube channel. Make sure you check out the website, mindbenderent.com. Make sure you follow us on Instagram at mindbenderent. Follow us on Twitter at mindbenderent. And of course, make sure you follow us on Facebook, facebook.com/mindbender entertainment. Check out this channel for more movie reviews, top 10, top 5 lists, all things entertainment. And remember, the future is now.